For the most valuable contributor to today's movie, I'm nominating director of photography Harry Wilde. Since RKO was the House of Noir, at least in my book, it had several cameramen adept at providing the requisite atmospherics, including Nicholas Musuraca, George Discant, and Robert de Grasse. Wilde was as good as any of them. During the 1930s, he had shot a ton of B-westerns, and it was a trench he might have stayed in had producer Adrian Scott and director Edward Dmytryk not pulled him up with them to shoot their 1944 breakout feature, Murder My Sweet. Wilde seemed revitalized, trading sagebrush for shadows, because he went on to photograph a series of significant noir films during the height of the movement, including Cornered, Nocturne, They Won't Believe Me, and Pitfall. At the start of the 50s, he became the go-to DP for Jane Russell, photographing her to maximum effect in the RKO films His Kind of Woman, The Las Vegas Story, and Macau. Perhaps at Russell's request, Howard Hawks borrowed Wilde to shoot Gentlemen Prefer Blondes at 20th Century Fox. Russell then returned to RKO, where she made the provocative 3D musical The French Line, photographed by Harry Wilde. And when RKO boss Howard Hughes exploited Russell one last time, putting her underwater, Wilde was once again behind the camera. His final feature film was The Conqueror in 1956. Wilde died 5 years later at only 59 years of age, and much later, when almost half The Conqueror's cast and crew had died of cancer-related illnesses, it was suspected that exposure to radioactive fallout on the film's Utah location, downwind from a nuclear test site, may have contributed to his early death. Claire Trevor would go on to become a fixture in film noir, starring in Crack Up, Raw Deal, Born to Kill, and winning an Oscar for her unforgettable supporting role as Boozy Shantuzzi Gay Dawn in 1948's Key Largo. Right around that time, Trevor married real estate magnate Milton Bren, which eventually made her one of the wealthiest women in Southern California. Bren developed much of Orange County, where the producer of today's film, William Pereira, built numerous structures once he quit the movie business to become a full-time architect. In fact, Pereira designed the entire campus of the University of California at Irvine, the centerpiece of which is the Claire Trevor School of the Arts, rechristened after the actress gifted the school with a sustaining endowment. Trevor herself became an accomplished artist, using painting as grief therapy following the death of her only son in a plane crash in 1978, and the loss of her husband the following year. I interviewed Trevor for a story I wrote for Los Angeles Magazine on the women of film noir. The article included the last posed portrait of Trevor, taken at her Newport Beach home by photographer Matthew Ralston. She died of emphysema several months later at 90 years of age. Now, there are numerous other players in Johnny Angel I could call out here, but I'll wind it up with a few words about Marvin Miller, who was appearing in only his second feature film as Gusty Gustafson. Miller had already established a thriving career on radio, lending his rich baritone voice to dozens of popular programs, often playing all the parts himself in different dialects. Once he got in front of Hollywood cameras, Miller found himself typecast as eccentric heavies, often in crime films. After Johnny Angel, he had similar roles in Deadline at Dawn, The Brasher Doubloon, and Dead Reckoning. But for his most famous movie role, Miller never appeared on camera. He provided the voice of Robbie the Robot in the 1956 sci-fi classic Forbidden Planet. But radio and films weren't what he was most known for. From 1955 to 1960, Miller played Michael Anthony, assistant to the never-seen title character in the TV series The Millionaire, where each week, for more than 200 episodes, he helped his boss give away $1 million to a deserving stranger. Would anybody believe that show today? Well, join me next week as I welcome back both Barbara Stanwyck and writer Cornell Woolrich to the alley. It's No Man of Her Own, a 1950 Paramount release co-starring John Lund. In the meantime, let us know what you thought of today's Johnny. over on the Facebook page and Twitter feeds. Until then, see you in the shadows.